Hey, good morning. So I got about 2 inches of fresh snow out here on the homestead last night. It's pretty, but makes it more challenging in the winter when there's snow because I gotta brush the snow off the solar, which affects my power because I'm off grid. And I'm still having issues with that smart home panel that I got. It's just been a nightmare. And I'm going to document it in great detail in this video. So I'll go through that a little bit later. Actually, I'm watching the snow slide off my solar panels right now. It's pretty funny. Check it out. It's like just sliding off by itself. That's pretty cool. So I got to get my brush to brush the panels off. That one's actually slid off pretty good. So I'm gonna do that right now so I can capture the sun, charge my batteries. If my faulty smart home panel will stay on. It's been so frustrating. Anyway, I'll explain later. So I got the snow off the solar and it's now charging my batteries. As I've explained before, I'm off grid, so my solar panels are tied to an inverter, which I'll show again in my solar shed. And that inverter is tied to a battery bank, a lead acid battery bank that is shot. And it almost doesn't even hold a charge anymore. So scrambling to find a solution for the winter, in November, I bought 2 Delta Pros, EcoFlow Delta Pros, and a smart home panel. I also got 2 extra smart home batteries to go with the Delta Pros to get my capacity to 14 kilowatt hours of storage, which is pretty close to what the lead acid battery bank I had was. And I installed the smart home panel to tie in to my sub panel in my solar shed to provide backup power to my home and the critical circuits, my water pump, my generator battery, because I do have a Kohler generator that I also run to charge my batteries when the solar is not providing enough power to charge everything. So anyway, I live out here in Central Oregon. I'm about an hour east of Bend, completely off grid. I live in a community of people that live off grid out here. There's no grid power. There's no water service. I get my water, I haul my water out here. I have a 3,000 gallon water cistern, and I get my internet from Starlink. So I have to have reliable power from my batteries and my solar in order to function out here. And the smart home panel has been horrible. Literally every day, that thing has an error, has a fault. It's so glitchy and inconsistent and unreliable, and tech support has been abysmal. I'll go through all of that in this video, so stay with me. I'm going to get into the details in the weeds and the not so fun parts. So as I explained, I'll show you as we go through here. I installed that Kohler generator last summer. It's been very great and reliable. That was my previous generator, the Kohler 14. I'm sorry, that's the 8.5, very old. But that's the new 14 kilowatt generator I put in, and I love it. So well, actually, that's all tied into the solar shed, which we'll go into and I'll look at now. So, and there's my propane tank, 1,000 gallon, that I got put in to feed my house for heat, and my stove and my water heater are all propane. And that's also the propane that I use, underground line that goes to my generator to run for my power if I don't have good solar. So, all right, so here in the solar shed is where my batteries and the inverter and everything is. So let me go through this again. So this is the current and existing inverter. It's very old. And these are the two solar charge controllers for the solar arrays that I have. And so my solar comes in to these guys and through the inverter converts it to AC power, which goes up and above here over to this sub panel. And this is where I put the smart home panel to tie into my sub panel and back up the circuits. And there's the two Delta Pros with the two extra smart batteries that I installed. There's my water pump that the water from my 3,000 gallon water cistern in the shop, this water pump tied to this pressure tank is what provides my water out here. Again, I don't have any services, no public utilities. So the smart home panel from day one has been glitchy. I talked to tech support when I first got this installed, and there were error lights on some of the circuits. They said, oh, we'll just move some relays around. And are you kidding me? But I got it to a point where there were no errors with the relays. But I have to make it clear, I have never used circuits 2, 4, or 6. Never used those circuits. They were not tied to anything in my sub panel. Originally, I tied the water pump to circuit number 8. And there's a little damage here. And the reason there's damage is because that circuit number 8 is a 20 amp circuit. My water pump is 12 amps. And there's no reason why a 20 amp circuit should not be able to handle that water pump, even with the startup. I have that water pump on a 20 amp GFCI circuit and a plug. I actually installed a new receptacle to make sure that that was good. That thing never pops. It's 20 amps, never pops. With that 20 amp circuit, that 12 amp water pump is never tripping that GFCI, which means it should never trip the circuit on the smart home panel, but it did. So EcoFlow tech support said, oh, well, you need to move your water pump to one of the 30 amp circuits. So this past weekend, that's what I did. And it's still glitching out. And whenever that water pump starts, this smart home panel completely malfunctions and cuts power to my whole house. And I have to come out and reset it. I have to unplug the Delta Pros to cut power from it and reset the smart panel. It is a complete pain in the ass. So I moved, you can see, I labeled it. I moved the water pump to circuit number 1. That is a 30 amp circuit. So even though it's 30 amp, it still trips out whenever that water pump starts. It can't handle it. And the reason this is damaged is because you see these right here? These are really cool. These are called switch box. And each Delta Pro has a button to press to turn it on and off. So if I press this button right here, that'll turn off one of the Delta Pros. So now the Delta Pro 1 is disconnected. And then I can turn it back on with that button. Same thing for the Delta Pro 2. If I turn this button off, it'll turn that Delta Pro off. And if I turn it back on, it'll turn it on. And what's interesting is when this thing goes into error, sometimes I can toggle between the two. I can turn it off and reset power for whatever reason inside the smart home panel. And then I can turn that back on, and I can turn this off. And sometimes that'll get the water pump to start, which doesn't make any sense. So I have these switch spots where I can remotely press that button with an app, which is very convenient because the EcoFlow app does not allow me, there's not even an option to turn these off and on in the app, why? You can do everything else, well, not everything else, but why isn't there functionality in the app to do that? So I have to manually do it, and if, remotely if I need to do it, which I have had to do, if I'm in my house taking a shower and this thing cuts out, and I've had to do this. I've had to come out here soaking wet to deal with this smart home panel because the water pump wouldn't start and I lost pressure. So I put these switch spots in to help me deal with that problem. And I had a switch spot right here to press this circuit button for the water pump when it wouldn't work. And that was also a temporary solution. But when I went to when I moved that circuit from circuit number 8 to circuit number 1, I was going to move the switch spot. But when I pulled that switch spot off, it only had double-sided tape. And it ripped this piece off. Are you kidding me? It's like so flaky. So that's why you see a hole there, is because there was a switch spot with double-sided tape, so I could use it to press that button for circuit number 8 when it was there. Oh my God. To say the least, man, I have been super frustrated with this. It has been the biggest, most stressful thing ever. No peace of mind. It's completely unreliable. And I'll get into this too. I've been emailing tech support almost every day. Like almost no response. And when they do respond, it's just, I'm sorry, we're going to forward this to the right department. They don't address the issue. They don't give you any solution. And then I don't hear anything. And one time when I did get a decent response, they said, "Oh, sorry for the, the unprofessional response. We need to train our people." Really? Obviously it's a problem, and it's not just me. I'm on a Delta Pro forum on Facebook, actually 2, and anytime anybody talks about the Smart Home Panel 1, the first one, it's the same feedback. It's the worst product ever. So I was going to buy the newest version of the Delta Pro. They have the Delta Pro Ultra now with the Smart Home Panel 2, which they got rid of the relays and it's just real circuit breakers in their Smart Home Panel 2. I was fully committed to buying that product. I was one of the first people that got the coupon to get a discount. I was excited about it, but it wasn't available in November when I needed to find something to get me through the winter for power. And I got the coupon. I was ready to buy this thing. I think it was January, whatever. The first week of January is when they were going to start selling the Delta Pro. But I needed something. That's why I got the 2 Delta Pros and those batteries and the Smart Home Panel 1 just to get me through winter. Biggest regret ever. I wish I would have waited. Actually, I don't regret doing that because I've learned from my experience with the Delta Pros and the Smart Home Panel that EcoFlow Support is the worst. And because of that, I will not buy the Delta Pro Ultra. I will not buy the Smart Home Panel 2. I will not buy any more EcoFlow products because they suck. And I'll just say that. I won't go into how I really feel because, to be blunt, my anger has been through the roof. So, anyway, so the next part of this video is going to be the exchange with support, just so you can see how bad and how unprofessional and how inept their support department is. Okay, so I'm in my house and I pulled up my iPad so you can see this history here. So I first reached out to EcoFlow back on January 7th about this issue and talking about how the Smart Home Panel was cutting out and I was losing power. And this was the guy that first responded. Like, I can't even say his name. Some dude probably in India, Koabe. I don't even know. Anyway, but his response is, hey, what's the serial number? Okay, great. So I give him the serial number of the Smart Home Panel. And then what is it? Let's see. Next day, thank you for contacting EcoFlow Support. We have seen your question to another department. So that's what I'm talking about. They forward it and they don't actually answer anything. So then January 13th, a week later, what's going on? No response. And then this guy, Koabe, whatever his name is, responds. He says, "Oh, thanks for contacting. Due to the increase in email volume, because they were selling the new Delta Pro, the Delta Pro Ultra, he's like, oh, sorry, we're too busy. I'm very sorry for the late reply, blah, blah, blah. We have not. So didn't answer, didn't help. And then I think January 14th, like, what do you mean? And like, I'm trying to, he obviously can't speak English very well. So I go through the whole thing again, no response. And then this guy, again, apologizes. And I told this dude, like, dude, like, your apologies don't fix the problem. I need you to fix the problem. I need you to address it. So anyway, he's saying it's disconnected because it lost communication. Duh. That's stating the obvious. And then I asked if the smart home panel, SHP, has an event log. That was January 16th. So we're going on a week and a half after my first email. I sent him some screenshots. And then, so his response is, thanks for we're sorry about your problem. Again, it's just apologies. We need to know whether the question happened after the app update. Well, anyway, just BS, delays. And so now I'm starting to get frustrated. I told him I haven't updated anything. The problem happened randomly at night when nothing was going on. Why is it so hard to provide an answer? A simple yes or no. Dude, like, it's so frustrating. And then finally, I get a real dude. His name is Lee. And Lee was very helpful. He actually started to send me instructions for how to get the event log to come back. So this was on January 18th. And so I sent him a screenshot that I didn't have it, like the event log was not showing up on the app to show me what was going on with the smart home panel. And anyway, so I did what he said, and then he responded, which was great. And he gave me, this is where he tells me I need to move the water pump from the 20 amp circuit to the 30 amp and tells me what to do about the event log. So that was on January 21st. Finally, I responded. I said, thanks for the information. And I would, yeah, basically I was going through what the manual says about the water pump and that I would move the circuit. But, you know, I'm busy. I got a job. I got to work. I didn't have time. And so that was on January 23rd. The issue is not resolved. I told him I would work on it when I can. And I would let him know. I think at the bottom I said, well, somewhere on here I said I would let him know how it goes. So then I get an auto response. It says, thanks for the update. If you need assistance, okay. And then I got, it's not in this email chain, but I got an email saying that the issue was closed. And so anyway, I didn't care about that. I stayed on the same email thread, the same case number, which is this case number here, the CRM, blah, 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 0280. That's the original case number for this problem. And I highlighted all this. So I sent this to Lee on Sunday, February 4th. And I explained exactly what I did. And I've already told you guys exactly what I did. I went through and I moved the circuit, and this is long. I'm not going to read it all, but basically I moved it from the 20 amp circuit to the 30 amp circuit, but I still was having problems. And then in the process of doing all that, learned that the unused circuit number 4 relay would, like, no matter what I did, would not work. So it's like, it's a completely dead circuit. So anyway, so I sent this, and then I get this auto response here on the 5th. And it says, thanks for contacting our customer support team. Please provide all the same fucking information that I had already provided in my original email. Like, they already have my serial number. They already have my address. They already have all of this. So again, and they tried to assign a new case number to it and not stick. And this is typical. Like, you send an email to EcoFlow Support about with the case number that you're working on, and they send an auto response with a new case number as if they want it to get lost in their system. And so I called them out on that. Anyway, so I gave them the order confirmation again, explained the main issue again. I asked them to send a replacement because, like I said, one of the circuits is completely dead, the one that has never been used. And then I start, explaining, well, why did I get an email with a different case number? This was on the February 6th, and then here we go with a different person. So the person that was helpful, Lee, has not responded. Should have actually been the person that did respond because he was on this case. And now I've got a different person, Daisy, with the boilerplate response of, oh, sorry, we're going to forward your issue to a different department. At this point, I'm like angry, and I'm nice, I'm cordial. Said, hoping to get a replacement. Please let me know. No response. And then today, February 8th, I sent another email. Another day has gone by. Pretty pissed off, and I still haven't seen a response. So that's been pretty typical of how it's been with EcoFlow. Unfortunately, I wish I had good things to say about their product and their support, but I don't. Support has been the worst, and they should not be selling a product that is so defective. It should be recalled. At a minimum, they should be refunding customers their money for those that bought the smart home panel one. I've asked for a replacement. It's under warranty. I bought this thing in November, barely 3 months ago. The one good thing I'll say is the actual Delta Pro units, those have been pretty reliable. I've had some weirdness with them, but those seem to be pretty good. It's the smart home panel that is horrible. It's so glitchy, it's so many faults, it's inconsistent, it just shuts off randomly, it's the worst. Anyway, so thanks for getting through this with me. I'll provide another update once I hopefully hear something back from EcoFlow. I pray that they send me a replacement because I'm still in winter, obviously, and I need to get through this. But I am not buying any more EcoFlow products. They have burnt that bridge with me, and I'm sure they have with many other customers, which is unfortunate because if they invested into their support team and trained them properly, then they would have loyal customers. Like if you provide the support network for your product and resolve it appropriately, I would love to buy more of their products and continue being I would be a long-term customer if they had the support network that they need to have, but they don't. So anyway, all right, well, thanks for watching. I will send another update, hopefully soon when this is resolved, if and when it is. So, all right, talk to you later.